Hello, this is Jim Pellegrino, host of The Hour. Welcome back to our show. In the second segment of the show, we have people who've been guests on the show before. I think Michael Keiser and Maria Keiser are married, but I think your wife has been on one more time. Two more times.
2 more. Wow.
Yeah, so you're definitely not the favorite here, Michael. It's Maria. So Maria, thank you for being back again. And Michael, good to see you again.
Jim.
For the audience, is not just full disclosure, I've known the Keisers for the better part of 12 years now.
I think so.
And essentially, we met because I had gone into semi-retirement, which is really funny to hear me say that now. And for the audience's benefit, Michael and Maria were actually, I mean, if I had to draw an analogy or a metaphor for it, they, to me, as a retiring business person, were a clean sheet of paper. Two young people that were starting out as entrepreneurs, and we're talking about 12 years later. So when we look at the 12 years, that clean sheet of paper, to what you are today, all right? So either Maria or Michael, you can share it however you want to do it. Tell us you now have two companies, right? And you're running programs underneath the company. So Maria, why don't you start?
Sure. Well, 12 years is a long time to learn, make your mistakes, have your successes. So we started out with the Entrepreneur Circle, and that taught us a lot of lessons, and we got a lot of experience there. And we came to learn that business owners, being in business is a lonely place. You're at the top, there's not too many people to talk to, so we created that environment for the business owner to come in. We fast forward, we discovered a couple of things that in the market, in being in business, you're hiring out vendors, you're looking for services, you're looking to accomplish projects, but you can't always do that yourself, and you can't always necessarily count on the company that you've hired. So we found this gap in the marketplace to ensure the business owner that not only are we going to help you get this project done, but we're going to make sure the best person for the job is there.
Okay, so Michael, when you and Maria are doing this, so you're doing it principally for small businesses, I would imagine, right?
Principally.
Principally for small businesses. So if you were to walk into that small business when you offer what you offer, I mean, let's simulate for a minute, right?
Sure.
So I call you into my office, so you and Maria are there, and I say, what can you do for me? What do you tell me?
We take you through a whole assessment. We created an entire assessment. You can do it online, but we prefer to do it in person, where we'll actually go through every facet of the business, from financial to operations to marketing to executive leadership to key staff and all of that, and find out where the challenges are. Find out where things are running smoothly, where they're not running smoothly. And we found when we had, as Maria said, with the Entrepreneur Circle, we were primarily working with the president, owner, CEO, directly with them, doing executive coaching, peer advisory boards. But so many people over the years asked us, who do you know who? Who do you know who can help me with a marketing plan? Who do you know who can help me fix this issue in operations? Right. So we created BKV to manage those kinds of projects.
What does BKV stand for, Michael?
Stands for Busto, Sheldon Busto, our other partner.
It's a partner, okay.
Michael Keiser and Maria Vichy, formerly Vichy.
Formerly Vichy.
So creative for the name, right? BKV.
Okay, so that's what the acronym is.
That's
and
it.
what's the difference between the E-Circle and BKV?
Because BKV, now we're working on other pieces of the company, whether it's marketing, whether it's operations, if somebody needs turnaround management. We have a couple of experts we can bring in to manage that.
Okay.
If somebody needs a good marketing strategy, we have experts we can bring in and manage that.
So Maria, when you come in with this assessment tool, you assess my company and you make determinations that I've got some marketing issues, some operations issues, and some IT issues, right?
Sure.
You don't represent yourself to me as people who are experts necessarily in that area. What you do is you facilitate the network to get me the people that can help me.
Exactly, and we keep track of the progress, and we make sure that the person you're hiring can deliver what they've promised.
So you're like program managing the thing.
That's a great way to describe it. We manage business projects.
See, we're still thinking alike. 12.
We are, isn't it? That's a perfect
Starting
way to
out
put
at good old Panera's out there in Manchester, Connecticut, right, Michael?
And
Well,
there
that's a
are
long
some
time
things
ago.
that we can do, that we can help you implement, but then there are other areas that we wouldn't even pretend to be experts in.
So listen, in this 12-year journey that the two of you have been on now, I mean, let me jump to the end and then come back to the beginning, okay? Because I want to make sure, because we have a lot of people who watch this program, Maria, who are entrepreneurs, typically young, although there's a lot of people who retire, and if they got enough capital, right, they want to start their own company. They have
Sure.
enough of corporate life. So there are things that keep you awake at night about being an entrepreneur, and there are things that are very rewarding, I would imagine. Let's take the positive first. What are the things that have been most rewarding to you in this 12-year journey you're on?
You know, being an entrepreneur, it's going out and having an idea and seeing it all play out. So the most rewarding aha moment for me is to identify, look at your marketplace, identify that gap, and do your very best to fill it. Because when you approach it from that angle, the people will come and business will flow.
I think the first time you were on the show, and maybe Michael was here as well, and this is like several years ago now, Maria, right? I was editorializing and indicating that to a lot of people, they see the romanticized version of being an entrepreneur. Oh, they have their own company, it's so nice, and of course, they view you now, when they see the two of you now, as being successful, having not had to go on the 12-year journey, right? And they lose sight of the fact, if they ever assume, and the audience should know, that as an entrepreneur, in order to be successful, you're going 24/7.
You are.
And you got to wake up every day, and you got to get out there, and you got to sell. The success comes, but it's not as romanticized at the beginning, is it, as it was?
It's not as romanticized, but at the same time, I bet if you polled 100 entrepreneurs, 80 of them would say, I would rather work 80 hours a week for myself than 40 hours a week for somebody else. So for me, that's the rewarding part, is creating something that didn't exist before. And as much as I hate sometimes the challenges, I feel the most, I guess, prideful when I've overcome a big challenge and found a solution to a challenge. And that's the most fun for me.
I guess my comment to that would be, I agree with you 100%. And it started with one generation past mine, when a lot of, in the 1980s, major layoffs came. And a lot of young people who were in college especially saw their mothers and fathers get cut off at the knees and laid off. And they took a look at this and they said, that life is not for me. And a whole generation started being, guess what? Entrepreneurs, right? And America has really changed now, that there's a tremendous percentage of workers who are entrepreneurs. And as a matter of fact, I read a number, Maria, I think it was last month, that I think it was substantial. 80 to 85% of all entrepreneurs are women.
Yes. Yes, women are coming out into the world and they're saying, I want to create my own schedule. I want the freedom. I want to be able to take care of my family. I want to be able to take care of myself. I'm smart enough. Let's go out and get something done.
Do it.
Yeah.
So what is it that the two of you, let's take the two companies, the eCircle and the
BKV.
BKV.
Yeah.
Let's take those two, all right? You talk to me about BKV, you talk to me about the eCircle, Maria. What do you and Maria hope to accomplish with these two companies? If I were to look at your business plan, and your business plan said this is what their objectives and goals are, what would they be for BKV?
The big lofty goal that we would like to accomplish is to help a higher percentage of businesses not only stay in business, but thrive. There's too many businesses that are struggling along, or they've plateaued, or the owner is miserable because they feel like the business is running them instead of vice versa. So if we could help reduce the percentage of businesses that go under, and if we could help people enjoy being in business more and grow their businesses more efficiently, I would feel like we existed. We did what we existed to do.
You do business with the small businesses, not only with people who are unrelated, but I would imagine you do business with businesses that have families involved in them.
Absolutely.
Different kind of a challenge, Maria, is it?
It's most definitely a different type of challenge. However, the objective is always the same, to reach that success. The difference between a family-run organization and a non-family run organization is it's a little harder to fire the family members, or maybe even have that confronting conversation. But essentially, it's the same objective.
It is, but it's interesting because you would think and hope, well, most of the time we're making logical, reasonable business decisions, and that's how we decide how to move. But in a family-owned business, you really, as a consultant or a business coach or whatever, must understand that you are going to equally be dealing with family dynamics as much as you're dealing with business.
That's a good piece of advice. I've done a lot of consulting and run a couple, Mike, after I got out of my large corporate life, and it is a major different dynamic dealing with the family dynamics in the business versus the non-family dynamics. Especially when you, well, I'm not going to get into all those dynamics, but it is very different for anybody that's thinking of doing it. So let's simulate like we usually do, now that we know what you're trying to accomplish with it. And I know the number is something like 1 out of every 5 small businesses fails within the first year or 2, and then it gets higher, 2 out of 3 in the next 5 to 8, et cetera. So when you go into a small business and you identify their problems, how accepting is the president of that company to hear the truth?
So it's an interesting dynamic, because if I were to come in and say, Jim, here's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
You're a business owner. Business owners typically have enormous egos, present company included. We don't want to hear that. So it's typically me coming to you coming to me and saying, Maria, I think I have a problem. I'm just not sure what it is. Can you help me identify
So a lot
it?
of the work you get must be referral work then, Maria, if that's the way it works.
It's referral work. It's people who have maybe seen us do speaking engagements. It's
Right,
people who have
that's
attended
true.
our events.
Yeah.
So it's people that have encountered us and said, oh, what they're saying makes sense. So nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I think I need a business coach.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because the sociology of the small company, especially with the president, male or female, is typically a love-hate relationship with what they do, right? I hate it that there's nobody around here to help me improve my company. I got to do everything myself. The love part about it is, but I control everything myself.
Yes.
And I don't want to give it up.
That is the way people, that's exactly it, Jim. Boy, we do think alike
Yeah,
after
we do.
12 years. We had a client recently say to us, he said, the reason I've worked with you for a long time is because you've helped me build my business my way. So people don't want you to go in and say, Jim,
Right.
if you don't do these 10 things,
Right.
you're a loser and your company's
Right.
going to fail. They want you to work with them and build on their strengths and build on their skills and the things that they're passionate about and help them build it their way.
If you find an owner with an open mind, it could be a wonderful relationship.
And most of them do have an open mind, but we're all set in our ways. We all have our way of doing things. So when I say to people, when I sit down with them the first time, look, you probably have a bookshelf full of books that have told you everything that you need to
Right.
do, so just go do it. That being said, that bookshelf of books didn't give it to you in the way you needed to hear it. So let's go through the process and let's come up with a plan that works for you.
It's interesting when we talk about the effect of government on the small business and the entrepreneur. You hear a lot of times about policies that are being introduced from the federal level or the state level that are going to help the small business owners succeed. I'm not going to ask your wife first her opinion, because I already got it 2 years ago, so I'll reframe the question for you, Michael. I'm going to be Governor Malloy for you, but I'm going to be President Trump for Maria. Right?
Okay,
So here you
good.
are sitting with Governor Malloy, right? I say, Michael, look it, my state is bleeding to death here, right? You're a small business, and I know that 85% of all new jobs come out of small business. It's not the largest corporations that are throwing it off, it's small business. So it helps to make small businesses in Connecticut successful. Am I, the state of Connecticut, helping small businesses, or am I not?
I will word it this way. It is.
Don't be too gentle with me now.
Okay, it is definitely starting to get better in Connecticut for small businesses. For a long time, business owners felt choked. They felt overregulated. They felt overtaxed.
Right.
Really not like it was an environment for growth. It is pleasantly starting to change. We're actually seeing the attitudes of business owners changing and feeling like they have a little more freedom now to run and
So
grow
on
their
a trend
businesses.
basis, it's getting a little bit better?
It's getting a little bit better. It is.
Wish we could say that for the whole state sometimes, Michael.
I do too.
Tough.
Boy, it is very tough. We're
tough.
losing population. I just saw that a business in Windsor is going to be moving all of its
tough.
employees. It's still a tough environment, but I think small business owners are feeling a little bit more encouraged.
That's good. So Maria, welcome to the White House.
Thank you.
I can't imitate the president, so I'll just use the word. So Maria, you know what? Small businesses create 85% of the jobs in this country. If you had to tell me one or two things I could do as president to mitigate those circumstances for small businesses so you could be successful, tell me, what would you tell me?
I would say that by allowing the small business to come in, you are allowing for innovation, you're allowing for new ideas, you're allowing for things that maybe haven't been done before.
Right.
The large corporations have their place in the world, but the small ones can change their direction quicker. So let us have that freedom to do that. Watch us so we're doing everything within the law, but as for the rest of it, just let us spread our wings.
So Maria, you must be happy with some of what I'm doing, which is a reduction of a lot of regulations. That's good.
Yes.
So are you still, Maria, in the same position you were 3 years ago when I asked you this question, when you said, just tell government to get out of our way and we'll be okay, kind of
Well,
a thing?
essentially, that's what I just said.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
Get out of my way.
Let me do what I
You're
need
saying
to do.
it nicer, though, Maria.
I think it would be nice.
To get it out of the way.
It'd be nice if the state adopted a couple of things that are happening on the federal level. I know with S corporations and LLCs, there's a lot of things in the federal tax plan that are going to
Right.
be very beneficial to us.
That is
and
correct.
maybe the state
With the new
budget.
It's going through.
Yeah,
That's
there's
a-
a lot of. My accountant was very excited yesterday.
Well, I got to
telling
tell you,
me
Michael,
about
we're going to
this.
see. And
Right.
the reason we will see is for the first time in a long time, I mean, like the way what he says or not, the fact of the matter is for the first time in, I don't know, ever maybe, there is literally someone who came from the business community sitting there as president.
Right.
So we'll see. We got about 2 minutes left. Social media, how has social media impacted you in terms of the way you run your business or get new customers or whatever, Maria?
Well, social media is an interesting animal in and of itself. So in the old days, of course, you only had your couple of mediums, TV, newspaper,
Right.
radio. You had a captive audience that they were all listening and watching you. Today, you can, I mean, it's everywhere. So, you know, your ads pop up, you close it, and, you know, you're never even seen. But what I found is if you can produce content that is useful for the end user, I'm looking for information. If you can be the one that provides that answer, it's not necessarily going to help your phone ring, but it gets that awareness out there that you exist.
So it sounds to me like you can use it as an advantage. You use Facebook, you use the web, you use Instagram, you use YouTube, whatever. You use all that stuff.
We do use it.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. So we got about a minute left. And in the last minute that we have, if it were a year from now, Michael, and you were here, all right, what would you be telling me about Keiser and Company?
About, I guess that we're already dreaming of
Yeah.
our next project,
Yeah.
although,
Yeah.
but Maria would rather us hold the reins in a little. I think for the next year, we're going to continue on focusing to grow both the Entrepreneur Circle and BKV Solutions in this area. We're looking at a couple of opportunities of expanding outside of Connecticut, but for right now, we still have a lot of room to grow here, and that's our intent for the next
Maria?
year.
I would agree with that statement. We have plenty of people to play with right in our backyard. Let's play with them.
We want to make small business
Well,
great
listen, I
again.
think I told you when I first met you, Michael, and then met Maria, that what could really happen is that if you two become tremendously successful entrepreneurs, millionaire-type entrepreneurs, I want you to know that I'm available on a 1099 basis.
We
Very
will keep
good.
that in mind.
Jim, nice to see you again.
nice seeing
It's
you.
great to see
Michael,
you,
see
Jim.
you
Thanks
too.
for having us on.